All right, let's file this one under movies that I didn't even know existed until today, and I'm gonna review it. um, so I was scrolling through Amazon today when I got to work in my office. I was doing a bunch of paperwork. I try to have something on in the background as like audio wallpaper while I'm working, and I came across this movie on Amazon Prime called Totally Killer, and the poster art for it looked really cool. So I watched the trailer and I went, oh, okay. So in the last few years, they've done like Happy Death Day, which was essentially Groundhog Day as a slasher movie. And then they did a sequel to that one, which was okay, not as good as the first one. A lot of the first ones like hinges on how good that performance is from that lead actress. She really sells a lot of the physical comedy in that one. And then you had Freaky, which came out during COVID, and that was basically Freaky Friday, like Body Swap, but with a serial killer. It was this girl and Vince Vaughn as this serial killer, and they switch bodies, and it was fun, Freaky Friday as a horror movie. So this one, following in that tradition, is Back to the Future meets a John Hughes movie meets Halloween. Basically, actually, a little bit more of the My Bloody Valentine remake to us. Actually, no, you know what? More like Valentine than anything. For anyone who, even the mask kind of is similar, because the mask in this one is like Beavis and Michael Myers combined. But yeah, it's a time travel slasher movie. It starts with there was 3 murders in this town in 1987 by the Sweet 16 killer. Killed 3 girls, each on their Sweet 16th, stabbed them 16 times. The only girl that didn't die is our main character's mother, and she's been preparing like Laurie Strode in the new Halloween movies, or like Sally in that Netflix Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's the woman from Modern Family, the blonde, and so her daughter's like super into like 80s culture, and she's wild about this like rock star who went to high school with the mom, and she can't understand how that dude became so famous, and so the town marks the event every year with like giving murder tours. People come dressed up as the Sweet 16 killer, you get all the Back to the Futurisms of like, oh, I would never do that when I was a teenager, just to go find out that her mom and dad did that, and the dad was like, oh, I was super jacked when I was in high school, and she's like, yeah, whatever, and then the dad is like super jacked and has like long Tarzan hair. Also, this movie is really everyone's just very accepting of time travel as a concept. That it's just like, oh yeah, that's not a big deal. This girl for her science experiment or for science project is building a time machine based on her mother's notes. Her mother in high school, something happened to her, and she kind of gave up all of her dreams and became overnight worker for like a factory. And but the daughter's taking her notes and saying, "Oh, I can make these work," and they do it in like an old-fashioned like phone booth, like you would see at a mall or like at a movie theater. So she builds a time machine, and there's a guy who does a podcast about the history of the murders and all that, and he's been talking to the mom, and the dad thinks that the mom is cheating because this guy's on their cell phone, and then the mom is murdered. Spoiler alert. She's the last of the Mollys. They called them the Mollys because they all would dress like Molly Ringwald from like The Breakfast Club, for any of you. Or what else was she? I don't know. She's in a million things. I was trying to think of like a more modern reference of like a TV show or something that the Gilmore Girls crowd who watches me clearly would get. But yeah, so the killer then comes after the daughter, and there's a fight at this abandoned amusement park, which is now where they're using for the science fair, and the killer stabs the control panel, and the metal conductor shoots her back to 1987. And now she's Marty McFly, and the mother of the girl who invented the time machine. She's super smart and totally just, oh yeah, no, time travel. We can make it work. She's kind of the Doc Brown. Yeah, it's the biggest thing about it is there's a meta commentary that runs through it about the 1980s, and at times it gets a little heavy-handed. Just about how like there's one woman who's just like chain smoking like crazy and in her car with her kids who aren't wearing seatbelts. And she's like, what year is it? She goes, oh, 1987. 80s are over, and I haven't even tried cocaine yet. And then the camera pans down to her kids who are just looking like, what? They're playing dodgeball, and the secretary in the principal's office is just giving out kids' personal information. And so our main hero knows when these murders are going to happen, and she tries her best to stop them from happening. But the mom and all the mom's friends are vapid 80s kids, and but the murders wind up happening, but out of order and in different places. And then we would flash to the future, where the podcaster's like, this isn't right. That's not how I remember reporting on this. And then they bring the Mandela effect into it. Basically we're on a ticking clock, though, because instead of Marty with the picture erasing, it's her cell phone. As soon as her cell phone battery runs out, she has no way to get back to the Future. And they mentioned Back to the Future a lot in it. So that just like Freaky and just like Happy Death Day, these movies know exactly what they are, and that's what makes it enjoyable, because there are some things in here you can like roll your eyes on, but it's got solid gore in it. It's actually pretty funny. Like I said, it only gets heavy-handed a few times with the 80s isms of like how a teenager now would look at that culture. And the performances are pretty good. People are playing it very like broad and over the top, so you can't take the science and the logic that seriously. It's just like it's a fun slasher comedy movie. So in that regard, I thought it was pretty fun. The twist is fairly obvious from the very beginning, but I don't really think this is trying to sell itself as like a Scream or something like that. Although at times it does remind me of Scream a little bit. But same thing, like I said, about Valentine. That's a movie that people don't talk about enough, with David Boreanaz. He was Angel, but his dad is a very famous Philadelphia reporter. So I would see him at Philadelphia Flyers games a lot, because David Boreanaz was a big Flyers fan. I don't know what that had to do with anything. Oh, he's in Valentine. I don't know. I'm tired, man. I got 2 more of these reviews to do tonight to stay ahead in October. But no, this was a fun one. If you get a chance to check it out, it is streaming on Amazon. And I like that every time something changes in the future, that's just how it is now. And at the end, they have a book made for when she gets back to the future of like, look, this is what society is now. You're probably going to need to read this to know what the fuck is going on. Like, she has a different name and everything. She has a 32-year-old brother, because her parents are like teenagers and they're super horny for each other, and she's just like, if you guys fuck now, it's not going to work. You're going to cheat on each other. You're too horny. And then so in the future they did, and she has a much older brother. The lead actress is very good. I know I've seen her in some other stuff before, but I can't really place it. The Asian dude from Aquaman is in it. He's the sheriff. He's pretty funny. I know he's been in other stuff, but he's in Ant-Man as well. He's one of like the FBI guys or whatever. So yeah, I recommend this one. It was fun. I went into it thinking like, oh no, it's really, because once you see the killer's mask and stuff, you're just like, all right. But no, it works, and it's fun, and it's got some good snappy dialogue. There's also 2 things I watched today that had the song Venus in it. I'm also watching Generation V, the Boys spinoff, and that has a song in it as well. I was like, oh wow, it's used twice here. They use Killing Moon in a scene that's very reminiscent of Donnie Darko, which I'm sure was done on purpose. Um, Also, there's Let the Music Play, Didn't Get Away. I don't know why I did that part. I can't sing worth fuck. But I was just, I was watching a trailer DVD recently while my cable's been out and they were getting that fixed. I was like, fuck, I'll just watch some DVDs. And I had some old trailer compilations that I hadn't watched yet. And one of them was called like Nights in the City, and it looked like if somebody made like an 80s side-scrolling beat 'em up into a live-action movie. And now I gotta track this movie down because the trailer is fucking awesome. It's like Streets of Rage and Bad Dudes, you know, as an 80s like, you know, street action movie. I don't know. You always find weird stuff that you don't know exists sometimes, like this movie. And yeah, so Totally Killer is pretty killer. It has a whole action set piece that takes place on a gravitron. Those things are fucking cool. Where, you know, the centrifugal force of it, the killer goes, you know, sideways and is walking slowly along the wall to the mom who's pinned out and can't get out of it. I was like, that was a pretty well constructed action set piece for a horror movie like this. It doesn't really look like it would be a low budget or anything. Like something like this probably could have played in theaters like Freaky did, and like I don't know if Freaky played in theaters. I saw it during lockdown, so maybe it didn't. I don't know. I was working at that other place then. And Happy Death Day 1 and 2 I know I saw in the theater. Yeah, because the girl in Happy Death Day looks like my ex-girlfriend. If you go watch the Velvet Rope trailers that I put up, that's Krista. And when Happy Death Day, I first saw the trailer, I called her and I was like, are you in a Blumhouse movie and you didn't tell me? So yeah, Totally Killer. It's Robert Zemeckis, John Carpenter, and John Hughes all mixed into one. Even the family's last name is the Hugheses. So I was like, oh, okay, I know what we're doing here. Yeah, Back to the Future is a slasher movie. That's it. Have a good one.